This week on the Mindful Men podcast.
I wanted to touch on some positive things about engaging community. And this is really important. And I've even done episodes on it before. So, episode 87, for example, and episode, I think, 100 on how to be a mindful man talks around the importance of community. And for a long time, I didn't engage with community. I was on autopilot and I just liked doing my own things. I liked being in my little box. I'd go to work and I'd come home and that was it. And I'd live at home and I wouldn't do much outside of my comfort zone. In fact, I wouldn't do anything outside of my comfort zone. Every now and then I might join a gym or something like that. And I feel like I'm engaging with community, but I was really still going those places and not engaging. So still keeping to myself. And with that came a sense of loneliness. And that loneliness I did touch on in those other episodes where I talked about men feeling lonely as well. And they say that men's loneliness or loneliness more broadly is like almost like the next epidemic since COVID. And COVID really highlighted the importance of connection. So towards the end of last year, after I'd started being sober, I actually started to feel this real burning desire to break free from that sense of loneliness and start connecting. And so since the end of last year and the start of this year, that's what I've been doing. I've been trying to create community for myself. I think for a long time, I've expected the community to come to me, and I've moved around a lot. I grew up in Adelaide, I've lived in Canberra, I lived in Hobart, Brisbane, now the Sunshine Coast. And each move, I kind of hoped that community would gravitate towards me, much like it did at school. When I went to school, I was a very fast kid, and that's how I developed friendships. I was very good at sport, and that's how I developed friendships. It's a bit of a larrikin, and that's how I developed friendships. But as you turn into an adult, it becomes a lot more harder for people to see those traits in you and want to be your friend. And so I think that's why I kind of went onto autopilot and came into this more of an introverted lifestyle as opposed to more of an extroverted lifestyle in school. And that got me down. And so this last year or so, I've been really putting myself out there as much as I can, as uncomfortable as that is for me, because I am a bit shy and introverted. And one example is I started a men's surf group. So around, I think it was June, July, August last year, I started learning to surf. And I did that through Waves of Wellness, which is a mental health inspired learn to surf class, and that's around Australia actually, so you can just check out Waves of Wellness online and you might be able to find a local Waves of Wellness for you. And I loved it. It was, I think, 6 weeks of me and some other guys, and there's a few girls there as well, getting together up at Noosa, so a beautiful place to learn to surf, and talking about mental health and mindfulness, and then learning to surf as well. And I had a lot of energy from this and I wanted that to keep going. And one of the things that I guess I was disappointed from was that there was no after group. So we finished the group and it was really left on us to continue. And the introverted man, the shy person in me, didn't want to do that, didn't want to create community. I just wanted to go to somebody else's community, but it didn't happen. And so I got this idea to create community. So I actually sat down with one of the facilitators of the Ways of Wellness, who's also part of my business network and now a good mate. And I said, maybe we should create something here for guys to keep connecting in, keep learning to surf, keep being on the waves, talking about men's mental health, mindfulness, and maybe we can tie it in with having a coffee afterwards. And so we created this group, me and my mate, and we called it Boards, Blokes and Brews, and we catch up every Wednesday morning down at Attic Surf Club here on the Sunshine Coast, and rain, hail or shine, we're out there. If it's too rough, we might just go for a bit of a swim or a walk or just grab a coffee. As long as we're connecting, we just keep showing up for each other. And since we've created it, we've had guys drop in and out over the period and having a lot of fun, having a bit of banter with each other, helping each other grow. So I am the beginner in the group, pretty much. There's a few other beginners that come in and out as well. But every time I do something like a turn on the board, or I recently got my new board, so they're all cheering me on, and it's absolutely fantastic and I love it. So if you're listening to this and that sounds really cool, I'm going to extend that community to you. So if you're on the Sunshine Coast and you're keen to join us, it is every Wednesday morning, very early. So it's before work or before, uni or whatever you do during your day. Hit me up, send me a DM or an email or something like that. I'm going to give my email at the end of today's episode, and join us. It's free. The only thing you need to have a board and be relatively comfortable in the water. It's not lessons or anything like that, so you need to be able to jump in and have some fun by yourself. But we just do it together. We love party waves, so if you're surfing next to me, I wouldn't care if you dropped in, and likewise. Most of the other guys are out the back doing some pretty cool stuff, but I'm in the shallows. But you can go wherever. If you're experienced as well, you can go hang out at the back with some of the other blokes as well. They all have a lot of fun, and we all connect via WhatsApp as well. So yeah, send me an email or message me somehow, and I'll give you the details if you're interested to join. Another one I wanted to talk about is soccer. So I love soccer. I love Aussie rules football as well. So I like football and football, depending on which definition you call it, football or soccer. And last year, my son started soccer, which was really cool. He was 6 last year, and he started his very first soccer games, and he loved it. And I loved watching him and just being near some of the other parents and cheering our kids on. It was really a lot of fun. And even last year, I got an opportunity to take a few training sessions or help out with the manager if they weren't there, to do subs on the weekend. And I got a lot of energy from this, and I felt connected, which was really important for me because I'm very shy. And so I'm one of those dads who will sit with the parents, but not really say much. I'd sit on the edge. I'd say hello, but I would not generally initiate conversation unless it's someone that I feel really super comfortable with. But I really loved it. And I was a bit sad when the season ended because that sense of community disappeared. And we waited over the summer. And then when this season came along, so my son's now 7, I actually felt like putting my hand up and saying, I'm happy to coach or be a manager as well. And so me and another dad, we picked up the reins and we're sharing the duties this year. And I'm loving it. Like, I feel even more part of that community now because I've got, I guess, as a focal point, as a manager or slash coach, other parents gravitate towards me and say, how you going? And they talk about soccer, or we talk about the games or training, and it's really nice. But also to watch and support these boys to learn how to kick and throw in and be goalie and have fun. You know, I felt a little bit bad last week because it was a bit muddy, so we had them pretending they were goalies and sliding all over the grass and the mud and stuff like that. But to do that is so much fun, and it gives me so much more energy, and I'm just loving that. And it feels nice to be part of a community through, say, a sports club. My daughter's about to start dance, and so that's going to be interesting, being a dance dad and supporting her through that. But I'm looking forward to engaging through that community as well when I get the opportunity. And from a business perspective, I'm always networking. So my accountant and bookkeeper will always see coffee or banana bread in my expenses because I'm always sitting down with people at cafes and networking, whether it's for referrals to come into my business. So Mindful Men is a therapy business as well. It's not just a podcast. Or if it's for people to do collaborations. So this past week, I met someone to potentially come onto the podcast and sat down with them to talk about the podcast and what they can bring to this very community. Or it could be around, you know, just other men wanting to touch base and engage. I've been to a few men's retreats, so every now and then I'll touch base with someone from there and catch up with them for coffee or breakfast or just a walk or whatever, and talk and engage. And these things are helping me grow both my confidence, my happiness, my sense of connection, and it's really cool thing. And one of the things I've learned is, particularly if we've moved around like I have, and we're not from the place where we grew up, it's very hard to get in on some of these cliques that already exist with guys or even girls in your new locations. I found this particularly in the workplace. So I meet people in the workplace. It's probably the most logical place where people meet as adults. And, you know, inviting people out for Friday night drinks or the Christmas party or the mid-year party or whatever it is, often I found is that people who live in and have grown up in those areas, they might go to these things, but then they're very quick to go home and not go on. And I think part of that was the party guy in me, like the drinker in me. I wanted to keep it going because I like to drink, but also I like that feeling of obliterating my anxiety and OCD with the drink, but also connecting in with other people through alcohol. These days without alcohol, I'm actually preferring to do these daytime things, such as the surfing thing or the soccer thing or the networking thing as well. So I'm finding a different way to do that. But I'm still finding that there are cliques around. But by creating communities such as the Surf Crew, or creating community through my business, so business networks and professional networks, which also turn into personal networks as well, and podcasts and professional networks, I've now got, I would say, friends that I engage with, some of which are in the surf crew. And so it's really nice. Sometimes we have to create that for ourselves. And it can be really hard to create it if we don't have ideas. And so a few years ago, one of those ideas was the Mindful Men podcast, to create a sense of community, to create a community for you out there, to listen in, to get some inspiration about what's going on in your life, and maybe take some steps to heal or grow or develop or connect in whatever way is meaningful for you. And last year, I also started the Mindful Men Facebook community group to do that very thing, to connect guys from all over the world, to help them develop understanding of what mindful living is. And from there, get inspired to do something different, to grow, to heal, to get into therapy, to do a men's retreat, to make a new friend. And so I invite you in, if you're listening to this and you're still looking for your sense of community, your tribe, join us in the Mindful Men Facebook community. It's free. We do regular posts. I am looking to set up an online Zoom catch up as well in there, and eventually some in-person stuff. And I guess timestamp from today's episode, so the 23rd of March 24, might put that into context. You might join in a few months and all these things might already be up and running, but that's okay. Come and join us. The more the merrier. We can grow this into a global community of men being mindful about who they are and what they want to do with their lives. So that's a bit about where I'm getting energy from community, and I think some of the positive things that I'm seeing in community, and even with my drinking as well. It's people that are touching base with me, and we're about to hear some of the feedback, and that helps spur me on a little bit longer and keep going and doing this for myself, my family, but also for you out there. And hopefully you listening to my voice and hearing my journey inspires you to keep going on your journeys as well.